Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Poppin' was cracking. It's Steve Boss here. So this honest vid is titled "Are Gen Z Pop Stars in Trouble?" Oop! I wonder why he says this. Let's see what he has to say. Let's watch.
Are Gen Z pop stars in a little bit of trouble? I've noticed that so many Gen Z pop stars are going through a low or slow point right now. There are many thriving though,
Icy
but I wanted to
Spicy.
talk about some of these
She's
careers
in
and this
trouble.
current point in their careers. I followed all these people's careers and have taken an interest in various things they've done. The people I'm going to talk about are not all exclusively born in Gen Z, because we just don't have that many, but they all have a Gen Z fan base and are a part of Gen Z pop culture, at the very least. The first person I wanted to talk about is Lil Nas X. Lil Nas X has the looks, he has the gift of growing up on the internet and being in tune with meme culture. He knows how to promote himself, and maybe even to his own detriment. For someone that is so in tune with
I
the
haven't heard from him in a
internet,
minute.
I do not understand how he felt to read the room when it came to his J. Christ single release, which utilized a lot of religious imagery and
Oh, he read the room. That's why he did it, because he knew it would get, a lot of people talking. This is rage bait at its finest.
compared his musical comeback to Jesus Christ. The only thing is, he had done a very similar rollout with Montero, and I think the best thing he could have done was lead with a very good non-shock factor release, because he had done it back to back, and then he returns with something that he's already done. And it's like, have you run out of ideas already?
Oh.
And to top it off, the song was not good and doesn't show growth for him as an artist. I really do fear that he boxed himself in with this song as a one-stick pony. And we also have to talk about that we had experienced this similar rollout back to back from other artists. And ironically, I think we can credit Montero Call Me By Your Name for kicking off that trend. Following it, we had Unholy with Sam Smith and Kim Petras, Paint the Town Red with Doja Cat. This trend of very ordinary songs using religious imagery and the satanic panic as a marketing gimmick. And I say this with all respect, Lil Nas X is not exceptionally gifted as a singer, as a writer, as a rapper. He's a creation of his own in internet culture. I really like Industry Baby, I really like Dead Right Now, but I feel like Lil Nas X has always left a bit musically. And I really do appreciate
I
how
agree
he,
with
as
that
a
though.
gay black
With
man,
with the with the exception of Old Town Road. Now that was different. But everything. Oh, I should have known I like country then. Anyway, side note. Yeah, I feel like outside of this song, everything else has been just like in my opinion.
has gone on to infiltrate conservative spaces such as hip hop and country. I'm actually shocked that Lil Nas X never returned to country given that it has a dominant presence on the charts. And Shabuzi's A Bar Song with
This is why I mentioned that, because I've raved about Shabuzi all year. And I recently did my Spotify favorite songs. Like, I went over my top 100 songs on Spotify on my Patreon. And of course, man is all over it. This was my album of the year.
which is now tied with O Town Road for the longest running number one hit,
Oh,
is something that Lil
okay.
Nas X helped pave the way for. Lil Nas X's recent songs are just not very sticky or memorable, but I'm not counting him out yet. He has a few blunders back to back, and it comes across at this current moment in his career like he may have done a little too much too soon and is burnt out creatively. And the whole shock factor thing, we love pop spectacle, we love controversy, but if you're not approaching it from a different angle, if you're not showing growth within your music, if there's not some form of statement, it's a very unsustainable gimmick to build a long-lasting career out of.
I agree with that.
He's complained
Gotta
a
have
few
some
times
talent
about
to
not
back
being
it up.
taken seriously, but you can't have your cake and eat it too, especially when you set that expectation with the egregious amounts of trolling. Lizzo. Lizzo is just a beacon of talent. Instrumentalist, singer, songwriter. The allegations that have followed her, I think, are very damaging for someone with Lizzo's type of branding that's all about positivity and respecting each other. I'm not saying Lizzo is guilty one way
What's
or
the
the
update
other,
on this lawsuit?
but regardless, there's no way around the optics. She doesn't necessarily have that bulletproof bad girl brand. Who knows, maybe she can develop one. I've always felt that Lizzo's public persona was a little bit at odds with how her music is. She clearly wants to be a provocateur, but her music is not very provocative at all. Now don't get me wrong, Lizzo still has some really good songs such as Juice, Boys, Good as Hell, Water Me, About Damn Time, but she just strikes
I don't
me
know
as a
any of
bit
her
of an
music.
edgelord with edgeless music. And just to clarify, there's nothing wrong with good edgeless music. But after all, the edgiest she tried to get was with Rumors, and it sounded like the Ghostbusters theme song. I think Rumors definitely wanted to be a huge cultural moment, but it's just not that interesting of a song or statement, especially considering the rumors that followed Lizzo up until that point weren't interesting or even a big part of her lore either. Speaking of uninteresting, Lizzo's fourth album Special was a total step down from her breakthrough, 'Cause I Love You. The songs that should be heard are the singles, and I was surprised that To Be Loved didn't become a bigger hit, but the rest of the album just feels smothered in corporate self-help platitudes. It feels like a pandering album to the extreme. The best way I can describe it is, it has a very preachy positivity energy about it, with lyrics that would make a 2013 Katy Perry album smile. Dua Lipa, we have to talk about the Miss Come and Go herself. Prior to Dua's third album, her team had put out statements saying they want her to be the biggest artist in the world. And her third album, Radical Optimism, came to be, at this point, the least successful album of her career, exiting both the US and UK charts in a relatively quick amount of time compared to her previous releases. Future Nostalgia, we all love it. It will go down in history as one of the great pop albums of the decade. Dua Lipa has struggled to make a strong personal brand, and she's spoken about that. In a recent interview, Anderson Cooper asked for her response to critics who say her songs don't have a sense of who she is and aren't very personal. And she said, "It's something that I just naturally hold back. Some people are just so ruthless with their own private life that they decide to put it all out in a song because they know it's going to attract people's attention. For me, it was always important to make music that people really loved. Not because I was putting someone on blast or because I'm doing it for clickbait at someone else's expense." Which is fair enough, her choice, but I don't think personal songwriting necessarily equates to putting someone on blast. That is a style of personal songwriting that people choose to engage in, but it's not the end-all be-all of personal songwriting. Artists like The Weeknd, Adele, Lana Del Rey, Billie Eilish, SZA are just some of the people I'm thinking of who have very personal songwriting, but it doesn't tend to equate to witch hunts and putting someone on blast. Radical Optimism was just okay. In a year of excellent pop, she came with something happy.
So maybe that's what she means. She don't want to put herself on blast either. So maybe she's including herself in that. Because all those people you just mentioned tell us their business through their music, especially The Weeknd. Terrible person. No shade. I like his music, but what the fuck? SZA, desperate. Who else he mentioned? Those other people tell us their business, and yeah, they get very vulnerable.
Interesting. I feel like if you're going to do the lighthearted and personal dance thing, then you have to make sure you come with bangers, and that production value is never lost. Think Britney Spears, think Kylie Minogue. Bruno Mars isn't exactly dance music, but he also has a similar angle. I think Dua Lipa is one of those artists that will have listeners as long as the music is good. When the music is not good, no one will be invested. She has had quite a bit of touring success despite the lukewarm critical and commercial reception to the album. In most cases though, touring is not representative of current relevancy. As long as you have a repertoire of hits and Dua has many, you can tend to find some touring success. Touring has also been up post-pandemic, so her touring success doesn't surprise me. It's interesting that it hasn't transferred over into RO receiving a second win though. I don't think Dua Lipa will fade into obscurity, but I think the timing of Future Nostalgia and her growth leading up to that record was remarkable. Unless Dua Lipa comes up with something really interesting for her next release, I think it will remain her only career-defining work. Sabrina Carpenter is having her moment in the sun, and I love it. I think she's a breath of fresh air. We are tired of being depressed and moody. However, I think for her next two eras, she will have to expand her shtick a little more, or she will be headed for Katy Perryfication. I hope she doesn't turn into a caricature of herself, because within the angle that she's operating within, it's easy to fall into that trap. I love that she's vapid and fun, but it's all about a balance in the long run. Billie Eilish, the queen of Gen Z. She is the first music superstar born this century. I think Billie Eilish is an icon. If not an icon, she's on her way to being one. And I don't care who gets mad.
I just recently did her Tiny Desk on my Patreon.
She checks all the boxes. She's consistent, she has the acclaim, she has a signature sound, which I think is becoming increasingly hard to forge in this day and age. I would like to see Billie work with someone outside of Phineas, and it's not because I think there's anything wrong with them together. I'm just curious to see what she could do experimenting with other sounds and people, especially after hearing her own guests. Even if it's not a full departure, a few songs with another producer would be cool. Olivia Rodrigo. Guts convinced me I am an Olivia Rodrigo enthusiast now. Sour to Guts showed tremendous growth, and I loved how she was just very uncompromising in the sonic direction on Guts. Like some songs on Guts just really take it there. lyrically as well, and I think she's just a figure that Gen Z really needs. Chloe and Halle, it goes without saying, they are so much better together. They are. Ungodly Hour was immaculate. Nothing they have done individually comes remotely close. I think they just complement and balance each other's weaknesses out. I need another album. They were building so much momentum too. Tyla.
Yeah, they fumbled
I like
that.
Tyla.
Jeez.
I think everything about her is
I like
just
her
cute, including her music. She's pleasant, but she doesn't ignite a strong musical reaction out of me, for better or for worse. I definitely see and hear a lot of potential in her. It's only a matter of consistency and timing. I think she fills a gap left by the reprint, but has something interesting of her own going.
He says she has a ton of star quality. I don't agree with that. And it's crazy because I like her music, well some of it. But I don't get like international star from her that will stand the test of time. Let me be very specific in stating that. And I know her stands will beg to differ. I don't care what you think. I'm telling you what I think. All right. I just feel like she doesn't have that much of an original sound to really captivate an audience for decades, like, you know, a Rihanna or a Beyonce. And I feel like that's what they're trying to tell us that she's gonna be. Like, I feel like they're kind of forcing that on us. Like, yes, this is the next it girl. Like, you know, she's packaged very pretty by her label, and they do their best to push her out there. But I just don't see it in her. I just don't. And again, I like her. I think she's adorable. I like some of her music. But what he said just really stuck out to me as far as none of her music being that, like, it's not like, oh my God, this is amazing. I love this. Like, I just don't feel that with her music. It's like, oh, I like this. This is cute. La da da da, and then I go about my business. You know, like if she never made any more music, like I'll be like, you know. So that's how I feel about her. So yeah, I agree with him putting her on here as far as being in trouble.
As well.
But maybe that'll change over time. It's changed for some really huge stars. So maybe she'll evolve and she will develop that star quality.
Rina Sawayama.
Who?
I have to at least talk about one of my
No
left field
shade,
pop girls. Rina Sawayama, her debut EP
Skip out.
and debut album was so refreshing. I was taken aback by 2022's Hold the Girl, and it's not even an egregiously bad record, but I feel like it does lose a lot of her uniqueness in an attempt to gain mainstream attention. And it is also drenched in Gaga worship. In 2024, Niche has been more rewarded than ever, so I wonder how things would have panned out if she stuck to her guns a little more. On top of that, she has the added layer of alleged label trouble. I just hope she's able to come out with a really good project sometime soon. Hold the Girl definitely did not catch the public in the way it was intended to, but Rina is so capable. Tate McCrae. I like the idea of Tate McCrae, a pop star Britney's ilk for Gen Z. I've seen some people say she's this generation's Britney Spears, and I'm like, no. The Britney influence is definitely there, but I think her angle musically is a bit different. Britney just had undeniable hits right from the beginning. Tate's voice is an acquired taste similar to Britney, but I think they are different types of acquired tastes. For instance, Britney's voice stood out in her era of contemporaries. Tate's voice doesn't stick out so much because many people do that understated style of singing and have that nasally tone. It's just her tone is a little polarizing. She has largely captivated people with her dancing and high energy. It's interesting, Tate has really tried on so many different artistic costumes. First it was Billie Eilish, then she went into a pop-punk direction after Olivia Rodrigo, then she went to the Britney playbook, and I think the dance-centric angle is her strong suit and it differentiates her much more than the ballad-heavy angle. I thought that Think Later was a very boring release, and also just a bit of a bait and switch because it had like 2 or 3 up-tempos followed by so many nondescript ballads. She's linked up with Ryan Tedder as her go-to producer, and I think she should link up with a real dance pop and dance R&B producer. Ryan Tedder is good at what he does, but I just don't think dance pop is his strongest suit. The great Ryan Tedder stuff to me, historically, is his ballad-driven stuff. And I think a different producer that is more specialized in that area could give Tate more of the undeniable dance-centered stuff, because her songs were at the line of being okay, but not exactly there. And also a little bit dated at times as opposed to a homage to a different era. Like, why not just work with Timbaland instead of making Diet Timbaland songs? Or Max Martin, hello. But that about concludes my thoughts. Let me know what...
Interesting takes. He seems to really love pop. I feel like he is very, immersed in this genre. So, I do like to hear his thoughts on, these pop stars, because a lot of them I'm just like, I'm not that familiar with. But, I do try to venture into other genres, and I definitely lean a bit into pop here and there. So, yeah, I'm always interested in hearing what he has to say. I agree with a lot of what he stated for sure. But yeah, we'll see what happens with these Gen Z pop stars. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Let me know what other videos you've been watching. I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye!